Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Miles Goldsmith, and on each episode, I interview the people behind the video games you know and love. On today's episode, I'm interviewing one of the game developers behind the video game Boxville. Boxville is a puzzle game about cans living in a city of boxes. Without any further ado, let's meet our guest and get into the interview. So, what was the first thing that really sparked your interest in creating video games?
Actually, yeah, I had no connection to video game industry before. It's our first game, and actually, we decided to make a game quite spontaneously. It was year 2020. We were running our other business. It's just another business. It's like real production business with machine warehouses and so on. And it was quite a tough year. 2020 with all this COVID things and we had a lot of stress in our business, and we tried to relieve our stress with playing, good and cozy and anti-stress games. But it was quite hard to find such games. And one time when we tried to find something to play, we decided why not to make our own game. So it was just this spark, which when we decided to make computer games. But it took a lot of time to progress from this spark to real production, like almost 1 year when we thought on different ideas how this game could possibly look like.
How did you go about learning all these skills necessary to create video games?
We just started to make something like prototyping. I never saw Unity before, so I just installed Unity. And we try. Let's clarify. When I saying we, I mean me and my wife Anna. She's also a game developer. She's also a game designer and art director of Boxville. So we just started to make something. She started to make animations and draw characters and locations, and I started to try to assemble this in some kind of game. In Unity. So we learned just in the process of game creation.
How did you think of the original idea for Boxville?
Actually, it was a lot of ideas before we came to idea of Boxville itself. We had a lot of prototypes with different locations, different worlds. And lastly, we combined several of these ideas and they came into one idea of Boxville, like a world which is made from cardboard boxes with tin cans.
Which pieces of media inspired different elements of the game?
I would say a lot of different, even some, let's say, unexpected ones. But for sure, one of the main inspirations was Machinarium game by Amanita Design. It was a cool game, which also brings this feeling of anti-stress and stress relief, let's say. But also a lot of different games which we played in childhood, movies, animation movies, and even music. So it's a lot of them.
So pretty much every game has interesting or strange ideas that you thought about adding at one point, but then decided to cut from the game. What were some of those sort of ideas for Boxville that you considered, brainstormed, but just had to cut?
We had idea to include one more level, let's say, or location. It was different. It was not location with puzzles, but location which is puzzle itself. It's hard to explain, but we will try to include it in our next games. This idea, but mostly all of ideas for Boxville we made them in the game itself. We had several storylines with different characters, which version of the game. But they are, let's say, in our ideas bank, and we are going to use them later.
Why did you all decide to cut that additional level you were thinking about having?
It was cool idea, but it was not a very good fit for Boxville world, for that feeling of which Boxville gives to players.
Managing scope is a really important aspect of creating video games. How did you work to manage the scope of Boxville while working on it? And how did the scope change from your initial idea to what you've now published?
Video game creation is a lot of management, and the main reason we managed to make Boxville quite let's say smoothly, it's because we gathered a good team. We have a quite small team, but all team members are just perfectly fit, and they're doing their part of game creation just perfectly, like our musicians, our animation specialists, our Unity specialists. So, team. My answer is good team.
Like many other games, you attempted to gain your funding through a Kickstarter campaign, which sadly was unsuccessful. And many people after that would maybe give up on the game, but you pushed through and kept working. What motivated you to continue working on the game? What did you learn from the Kickstarter campaign, and how did you eventually obtain your funding?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, our Kickstarter campaign was unsuccessful. And what motivated us to make a game further? First of all, it's our willingness to make a good game because we made the game which we are proud now. And actually, this motivated us. What we learned from this unsuccessful campaign is that you need to bring a lot of attention to your campaign. You need to generate a lot of traffic to your campaign. Yes, Kickstarter itself, like platform, it generates some traffic to your campaign, but it's not enough for at least for such campaign like a small computer game. It should be much more traffic to your page. How we managed to fund our development process? Yeah, we funded it from our savings, let's say, and like this, we finished our game and released it.
So the entire story of the game is told through visuals and pictures on screen instead of text or voice acting. Can you tell me a bit about your decision to tell the story through pictures instead of text, and what it was like to tell a story without words?
Yeah, it's funny and hard in the same time because our idea to make a game without words based on our own preferences. Because actually, personally, me, I don't like games where it's you need to read a lot of text or hear a lot of dialogues. I would like personally, I like more graphical games with where a lot of things communicated via graphical information. So yes, we decided to make a speechless game and even game without text. The only text is in credits in the end of the game. So yeah, it was quite hard to communicate everything and to make it understandable to players. And even maybe the hardest thing was to make the menu without words.
Your studio is based in Ukraine, and you were working on the game as Russia invaded, and you all continued to work on the game and push through. What was it like to be working on the game through all of this?
It was challenging, of course. We paused our game development in the big for something like months because part of our team was moving out of Ukraine, part of our team was moving inside of Ukraine, but without their means of production like audio studio or development PC. So yeah, it was quite challenging, but it was hard psychologically because everything around was like blowing, constant blows, or even sounds of shootings. So after like 1 month, when we let's say stabilized the situation, we resumed our work on the game, and eventually in September last year we finished the game and released it on Steam.
Every game needs playtesting in some form. What was your process for playtesting Boxville, and what important pieces of information did you learn through playtesting?
Mainly, we playtested it by ourselves, by our team, but we also asked our community on Discord server. We asked community to test our game mainly on touch devices like Android and iOS phones and tablets. What we learned is that to make a good game without bugs and glitches, you should test it like 100 times.
When creating a game with puzzles, it's important to make the puzzles not so hard that the players find it too difficult and give up, but also not too easy that the players don't feel like they've accomplished something. How did you work to create that balance for the puzzles in Boxville?
Yeah, it's quite hard thing to manage this balance. First of all, we made prototypes of puzzles itself, like mini games, just like small standalone games, and tested it with our friends or our relatives. And then we decided which things to improve in this mini games to make them more playable, more or less hard. Because yes, some puzzles changed. We even made physical prototypes and tested them in real world. And during these tests, we saw that, for example, some puzzles take a lot of time to solve. So we decided to make it easier. For example, blocks puzzle. I don't know if you played Boxville completely or not. But the final version, it contains fourth level, which was extremely hard, and we decided to exclude it because it could take a lot of time to solve it. But some puzzles we decided to make them harder because they were too easy. So yeah, it's like of course you don't know how it will be from the player side because you are basing on your feelings and on your understanding. And actually, it's quite hard to understand if this puzzle hard or easy when you played it 20, 40 times already. It's tricky to make balance.
So you said that you used a physical version of some puzzles to test them out. How did that work? Can you tell me more about that?
For example, pipe puzzle, when you should make paths with pipes, we just cut these pipes from cardboard, put them on the table, make this grid with sticky tape and put these pieces and just played this puzzle, but in real world, just to understand how it goes.
Which parts of Boxville did you have to put the most time and effort into to get it just the way you wanted it?
I would say that the most challenging part is testing, play testing before release, because actually making the game itself, it's like concept of the game, all the plot and characters and everything. Then process of making, it's more like a conveyor. Because artists should make graphics, animators should make animations, musicians music and sounds, and then Unity developers should gather everything in one piece. So, but after this, when you have already playable version, playable build, the main thing is to find all possible problems, and sometimes they are not so straightforward. Because some of them are appearing only in different conditions, and playtesting is the main most, let's say, stressful part because we strive to provide the best experience. And actually, I'm quite proud because for now, already, let's say, 9 months from the release, and we did not patch our game till now because there are no bugs and glitches in our game.
You have gone and you have brought the game onto many different platforms, such as Xbox, PS4, mobile, and most recently Nintendo Switch. Can you tell me a bit about the process and what it was like to bring the game to all these different platforms?
Yeah, actually, we've not brought it for Xbox and PlayStation for now. Oh. We are on let's say finish the line for this process, and we are going to release on Xbox and PlayStation quite soon. But yes, we after the release we started porting process. First, we ported to Apple and Google devices, iOS and Android devices, and it was not so hard but quite challenging because you have to apply new approaches, because the way you are controlling the game with mouse or gamepad is different from touch devices, and we had to think about some interface improvements to make a game playable on touch devices. Then we started porting for Nintendo Switch, and it was quite challenging and interesting because the Nintendo platform is quite different from other platforms. And yes, for now, we are finishing porting for Xbox and PlayStation, and we're going to release soon.
Is there anything that you wish you knew before starting work on the game?
It's a good question. No, actually, if you would like to ask if I'm regret about something, no, I'm not. Yeah, of course, we gained a lot of experience during the game creation, and for now, when we are working on some new projects, have much more experience and understanding of the development process of the entire game industry. What I would like to know, I don't know actually what to answer. We did not have some big problems or big gaps which were underestimated before. Actually, we put a release date way before the release, like 1 year before, and it was like it's 1 year after, so a lot of time. But we actually managed to release in this day. Even we put this date without understanding of whole process and all challenges.
Are there any fun, small little details that you've added into the game that you like, but you haven't seen many players notice?
Yeah, we added some small details, some maybe Easter eggs, but not exactly Easter eggs in the something we like, something we were inspired by. So that's all.
Can you tell me a bit about what your publishing process was like?
Yeah, publishing, it's, let's say, the second half of game creation process, because to create game itself, it's like only half or even less than half of the whole process. Yet publishing, it's another challenge. And actually, it's another competence which should be in the team. If team decides to publish a game by itself, not to go with publisher company. In the very beginning, we decided to publish by ourselves, self-publish our game, and I would say that it was a correct decision. As for now, it's different because you have to understand a lot of legal things, a lot of you had to read a lot of contracts and different conditions. You had to fill all tax forms and so on. So it's different. And I understand why a lot of developers go with publishers, because they just want to develop games and not to read contracts and fill tax forms. But I would say that it was the right decision. It's hard just first time. It was a lot of work and a lot of stress because you don't know how everything works. Every publishing tool, I mean every platform, have its own interface, its own rules and logic, and you're trying to understand everything. And it's hard because you're making this for the first time. When you are publishing the second game, you know all problems which you can avoid, and your process going smooth. So it's challenging too.
What do you feel is the biggest lesson that you learned from creating the game?
Planning is essential. You should plan everything carefully and realistically, not underestimate different tasks and time which should be allocated to accomplish these tasks. So I would say that the main problem is not problem, but the main challenge is correct planning. And when you manage a team, even small team like ours, you should plan accordingly, let's say, because all team members make different type of work, and you should make plan in such way that all team members go on the same speed, not to, someone made his work fast and someone slower. And in this case, you are going into a situation when someone has no task and tasks and someone has a lot of them. So planning, yes.
Mm-hmm. What would be your biggest piece of advice to a newer game dev trying to go and create their first game?
I would say try to make some demo or some playable piece of the game and test it on your potential audience. Actually, we did like this. we made a demo first, but it's essential to understand your audience feedback as early as you can. For this, because creation of the game, of course, different teams create a game in different time. I mean, for someone make game for 1 year, someone for 5 years, but try to make some playable thing and to show it to your friends, your colleagues, your family, your maybe some community, and gather their feedback on your game and maybe improve it.
What's next for you? What are you working on now?
As I said, we are finishing porting for now for Xbox and PlayStation. And also, yes, we had a lot of ideas. We even had like a queue of ideas which we would like to realize. And some of them are experimental. It's let's say projects we are not putting a lot of hope on them, but we would like to check some new game mechanics. And let's say it's experimental projects, and some projects are more traditional. But I can't say it for now. We would like to announce our new project when we will be ready on our Discord channel.
How large was the team that created Boxville, and what did each of them do on the project?
Our team consists of 8 people. It's, as I said, it's me, my wife, Anna, a friend of mine, Dima. He's a lead programmist and lead Unity developer. Also, we have one more Unity developer. His name also Dima. And we have 2 musicians, Alexander and Sergey, who did a great job concerning music and sounds. Because actually it's our proud. We're proud a lot of our music and sounds because they were made with unusual things like cardboard boxes, tin cans, and some unusual music instruments just to create such a Boxville specific atmosphere. And also we have animator Diana and our let's say universal member of team Anatoly, who is a tester and artist too. But he unexpectedly for us, he did very good job in testing of the game.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great interviewing you.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was the interview. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure to follow or subscribe. It's different on every platform. Also, make sure to turn notifications on so that you know when a new episode is out. If you want to stay up to date with what's going on with Game Design Hour, make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at Game Design Hour. Also, if you like the show, make sure to give us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you have a friend who you think might like the show, make sure to share it with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I can see you next time.